Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Archive. I am St. Godric, and today I have something a little different for you. Super excited to have Riley Harden with me, owner of Harden Digital. How you doing this evening, sir?
Not too bad. It's pretty cold where I am. Coldest day of the year so far, so
yeah,
trying to survive.
Man, we went from like 70, 65 degrees. Like we were record-breaking heat in Kentucky for December, and then overnight we had one thunderstorm, and it dropped to like 35 degrees now. It's like,
yeah, the cold front moved through.
Yeah.
And I only know that because my girlfriend's a meteorologist.
So viewers, we are doing something a little different on two fronts tonight. We are streaming this live on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free throughout the evening. If you have any questions for me or for Riley, feel free, comment those. Those will show up in our chat here, and we can pull some of them up onto the screen, answer some of your questions. But a few weeks ago, let's see, we've got our first comment.
Well, that's my girlfriend.
There you go. got the obligatory comment.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I had the joy of going on to Riley's podcast and just talking a little bit about Larping and a little bit about the different games that I play and the side hustles that I do that are included in that game, and just had a really, really good time. And I wanted to bring Riley on and kind of do the reverse a little bit and have me quiz him this time instead of him quiz me. And I want to start, Riley. Can you give our audience a little bit of background on who you are, what your education, professional career looks like, and then we'll kind of roll into some other questions from there.
Yeah, so went to college in a small private school in Indiana and went into school thinking I wanted to get into sports management. Love sports and played 3 sports all through high school. And so I thought it'd be what I want to do, just stay in the sports world. And then I quickly realized business classes are not for me because I absolutely hate math. So I pursued a different degree in public relations, and I kind of fell in love with it. I was never a big writer before college or before I started taking PR classes, but I found that I was pretty good at it. I was able to write and get thoughts down pretty quickly. So fell in love with public relations and graduated there with a minor in history. Just I had to take some.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had to take. We're a liberal arts school, so I had to take a certain number of classes in a related field, or like 15 something credit hours all in one subject. And it was only like 2 extra classes to get the minor. So I was like, yeah,
that's worth it. Yeah.
So out of college, I didn't have a job yet. Went and spent 2 months up in Minnesota, just working a side gig and, or a part-time job at a local sporting store there. And, then I got a call from one of my professors, my public relations professor in Franklin College is where I went, and he had a contract position open with the state, working for one of the state agencies as a public information specialist, kind of communications, PR type thing. And I accepted that, and kind of the rest is history. I was there for 5.5 years. Started out kind of doing everything and slowly evolved into being the agency's first full-time social media manager. So I took our social media platforms, which we were posting sporadically there was no strategy behind it. We were just like, had a daily meetings like, hey, does anybody have anything to post about on social media? And we were like, no. If not, then just kind of went untouched, and kind of took it from that into developing a full strategy and creating content regularly, posting multiple times a day. And before that, I didn't have any necessarily formal training in social media. It was a class in college, and my personal use too, but never like any full-time training or anything like that. So it was kind of self-taught in a way. I took the role and ran with it and made it my own, created that first strategy, and fell in love with it. It was a lot of fun creating content, making tweets, Facebook posts, got to do a lot of cool things in the agency that I was doing, and So I started getting better at it. I really liked the strategy behind it, not just posting randomly on Facebook because we needed a post, but actually this is who our target audience is. This is the messages we're going to develop to target those specific people and how we're going to relate to them and get them the information they need. And so I fell in love with that. And then fast forward to early 2020, kind of right when the whole pandemic hit. And I had a family friend reach out, and they knew I managed social media for the state, and they wanted some help with their small home improvement business, just kind of getting there. They had a Facebook page, but they wanted an Instagram page, and they wanted somebody to post for them about the jobs they were doing and everything. And so I started doing that, and I realized, hey, I could do this on the side and make a little more money. And so I decided to put a business plan together and kind of launched Harden Digital from there, and started out with one small client. It was a family friend, and worked it on the side for a year and a half or so until this past August when I took it full time. Slowly built up my client list over that year and a half, and took it full time in August and haven't looked back. So that's kind of my background and how I got where I am today. And a little more about myself, I guess, maybe relating to your community more. I'm a big video gamer, love reading, PC gaming mostly. I do have a PlayStation, but I think all time my favorite game that I'm still probably most addicted to is League of Legends. So I think you're, Nate, actually the one who got introduced to the game. Oh, I don't even know how long ago that was.
Thousands and thousands of hours later, here we are.
Yeah, it was it was a lot. I mean, I don't play as regular anymore, but it's still my go-to. I'll jump on and play 2 quick ARAM games or something, just because I haven't played any ranked games. I don't know the last time I played a ranked game. I just like to get on and have fun and not necessarily grind the ranked ladders anymore. But then I just like to read thriller books, really. I have a series that I read, and then I've been reading a lot of business books and trying to learn more, not necessarily business related, but like a lot of social media books, just trying to improve my trade, and and books about running a business, because now I run a full-time business. So there's a lot of learning that goes into that. It's been a good adventure, and
for sure.
So that's a little bit about me and kind of what I like to do on the side.
I want to take a moment to take a break from our regularly scheduled programming and give a plug for my business, Dragon Masters. Over at Dragon Masters, I make woven belts for Amtgard, Dagger Here, and any other LARP that you can think of. At this point, I have hundreds of belts across most of Amtgard's kingdoms and across many different realms in Dagger Here and Belgarth. And my goal with these belts are to make belts that are going to last longer than you. My goal is to give you a legacy belt that you will be able to wear for as long as you want to wear it, but then we'll also be able to pass it down to that next generation, that next player in your belt line, at your park, friend, family, whatever it happens to be. All the belts that I make are made of paracord and macrame and are made of the highest quality materials. If you're interested in taking a look at my belts, there's a link in the description below for Etsy. On there, I have all sorts of belts that are ready to ship out the next day. These are ones I've already made. But if you're interested in something custom, check out my Dragon Masters Facebook page. You can go through and see all of the custom work that I have ever made, and I would love to get you a custom Knight's belt or a custom Squire belt, or maybe you're looking for something in particular for a fighting company. I will also do discounts if you want to order a large amount for your fighting company, your park. Do discounts there. So thank you for listening to my plug. Let's get back to the main action. It's awesome. So the second way that this episode is a little different than normal for those who are following along, who have watched multiple episodes of ours. We're doing it live, so that's something kind of new. And then the second thing is Riley is not a LARPer. He's the first one who doesn't really play or participate in any of these communities. And I think, Riley, have you had any interaction with LARPing outside of your interactions with me?
Well, I was going to say I've hit you or your brother with swords and stuff, but other than that, no. I really don't think so.
Well, and I think that that's awesome because some of the stuff that the goal for tonight's episode is to get your intake or your input from someone who is out of our world, right? You aren't jaded. You don't have, rose-colored glasses on. You can take a look, and this is what you do professionally. You make your career on social media marketing strategies and helping small businesses grow through online, different platforms. And so the goal for tonight is to pick your brain really on the things that you do for businesses professionally and kind of break into how our audience might be able to use some of those same methods and strategies to help grow their local group or their local hobby using social media and online platforms.
And social media it's unique for every different group or organization, but the fundamentals of how you grow your community, how you grow your following, and what the strategy behind it's pretty universal across whether you're a huge corporation or you're a local small business or you're just a small LARPing community that you want to attract more players and get more people involved. So the fundamentals behind the strategy and what you can do, it can apply to pretty much anyone, any business or organization.
For sure. So if someone is watching this, their local group of 10 or 15 people, they don't really have any social accounts at this point. They're watching this saying, I guess maybe I could use some of this to grow our game. Why should a group, business or nonprofit, kind of like what we're as, just a hobby or a group of people, why should they even be on social media? Like, is it worth the effort? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think it's 100% worth the effort if you're trying to grow your community and people are on pretty much, I want to say everyone is on social media. I know it's not 100% that everyone's on social media, but nowadays, if you're not on social media, you're looked at, you're very...
How about this? Everybody I know is on social media.
Yeah.
How about that?
And I don't want to point anybody out or say anything, because I'm sure one person who watches this isn't on social media and they're going to call me out on it. But just the fact that we're having this discussion that everyone's on social media, if you're trying to grow your community, where do you need to be on social media? And even if you don't have accounts set up if you just have your personal accounts, the three biggest ones that I would say specifically for a LARPing community or something like that is make sure you're on that Facebook, Instagram, and getting into TikTok. I think you don't necessarily need to focus on Twitter, Snapchat. I don't even mess with Snapchat for business organizations, but it's one of the most popular ones, which is unfortunate. But you want to be where your community is, and where is literally everybody in the world on social media. Yes, it's great to have a website or great to have a physical location that you can do stuff. But if you're not on social media, you're missing millions, if not billions of people. So it just makes sense to be on it, to have your organization, your group. There's a bunch of different options to go with, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. There's specific options within each of those platforms. But bottom line is, if you're not on social media, you're not going to be growing. You're just going to be missing out on all the opportunity.
For sure. Earlier you said strategy, coming up with a social media strategy. What does that look like? What goes into that? What should people be considering? Because the world of social media is so large that it can be very intimidating if you're not super familiar, right? Most of our viewers probably have Facebook. Most of them probably have Instagram. Some, maybe, I wouldn't say most, I would say a good percentage have TikTok. But as far as those who are creating content for all three of those platforms consistently, that number is very low. So when you say you need to be on these platforms for potential growth, that can be a really scary thing for a lot of people. So when you talk about having a social media strategy, what does that entail?
Yeah. So I sit down with all of my clients. So I work with a bunch of small businesses. And first thing I do when I start working with them on their social media is I develop a strategy. The very first step in the strategy, no matter if you have a huge following already or you are just creating your accounts, is your strategy statement. What's your goal? What are you trying to get out of this strategy? Why are you doing it? And that kind of gives the background of, okay, this is the baseline. This is where we're at right now, because you want to know where you're at. You want to know where you're starting so that you can go back in 6 months, a year, and compare. And the strategy is always a living document. You're always going back to it and making updates, making changes as you need. So kind of defining.
Do you have a physical, like I'm assuming a Google Doc? Okay.
Yep. I create a physical copy of a strategy for my clients, and that's where we define, this is where we're starting. This is why you brought me on to help you. Whether it's your last person quit and you don't want to hire a person full time, or you have no social media presence at all. It's just a good way to kind of set the baseline. And then from there, first step, what are your goals? Whether you're trying to sell a product, market your business, or you're just trying to get some more brand recognition out there, define what your specific goals are. And that's personalized for each organization, each group. So at the end of the day, a lot of businesses, the end goal is to make money. So, driving more revenue, driving more people to your website, getting more eyes on your content, whatever it is, define those goals. And then after you have those goals defined, you want to know, who are you trying to target? Do you have a specific ideal customer or follower, whoever it may be? So I'm
going to pause you real quick, because I think this is going to be super funny. Okay. Knowing what you do of LARPing, not a whole lot, but like I sent you some videos of a bunch of different games. You've interacted with me and have heard, if you are describing the ideal market or the ideal customer for LARPing, describe that to me. I'm interested to see what your take is on this. As mean as you want to. I love it.
Okay, I was going to say I might put some heat for this, but I mean, just from the outside looking in, more of the nerdier people, and I myself, I consider myself a nerd with all the video gaming and things I do and reading and stuff like that. So I'm not throwing any shade there, but
or history writer.
Yeah, the kind of the late teens to early 30s nerdier group that they're into fantasy type stuff. I guess fantasy type stuff is really broad, but read graphic novels and comics and that type of community, I guess. It fits right in with what I would think of people hanging out at the comic store on a Saturday morning.
Very true.
If I had to try to visualize a group of people. So
you're spot on. I love it.
Yeah. Try. And then again, I don't throw any shade or hate towards that group at all. So that's just,
that's part of it. You have to realize who your target audience is. Like if you take your group to the local, grannies meeting at the library, right? You're wasting your time. There is no point in spending your time and your resources on a group of people who aren't gonna participate. Yeah. So having a clear, direct, we know this person is more likely, not guaranteed, but more likely to listen to us when we're talking, right? That comic book store, that's a good place to start. You go the Comic-Con or Gen Con, that's a good place to start, right? Like those people are more likely going to come play your game than the Boy Scouts or the whatever else that it is.
Then the baseball player or jock or something like that. And and that's kind of while you might know that in the back of your head, if you're really getting into, okay, we want to take our social media to the next level, defining those things, really taking the time to highlight who you're trying to specifically reach can just help in the long run when you're trying to develop and create more content, keeping that in the back of your mind. Hey, is this video or this blog post, whatever it may be, is it really geared towards the 18 to 35-year-old comic book nerd or anything like that. So just writing that down. And what I always do is, or what I always say is, your strategy is kind of a fallback. When you create this strategy, yes, it's super helpful, starting out and you have all these ideas floating through your head, but like 6 months down the road, you might feel burnt out, don't know what to post. Oh, I've posted about everything I can even think about. Like, I just have no more content ideas. I tell people to go back and look through their strategy. That's kind of just the living document of, and it's the fallback of, oh crap, we thought, 6 months ago was a good idea to talk about this specific idea, and we haven't talked about it and just completely forgot about it. It's just kind of a way to go back and give you a refresher every now and then of the type of content, who you're trying to reach, different campaigns that you have going on, whatever it may be. And back to the kind of the layout of the strategy, one of the last things that I always include is I sit down and kind of put a social media calendar together. And it's not necessarily we're going to talk about this on March 15th through the 18th every single year. It's more of a, hey, November is, I don't know, Veterans Day or whatever. Like, so each month has different themes. And if there's any themes that specifically relate to LARPing on a different month, or there's a specific day, kind of just highlighting each of those each month. And like when I worked for the state, we did a bunch of preparedness stuff throughout the year. So there was National Preparedness Month and Winter Preparedness Week and Severe Weather Preparedness Week. So like just highlighting those so that, oh, it's the middle of October and I have no content ideas. Look back at your strategy, back at that social media calendar. And it's like, oh crap, this day is coming up, or this week is coming up. And it's the calendar is specific to each individual group or organization, but that's what gives you those ideas. And I always just throw that in, you don't have to have a calendar, or like, I just do bullet points where it's January and these 5 bullets are what we're going to talk about in January, and so on throughout the rest of the year.
For sure. Most of the various games out there, their season starts early spring, right? March-ish. And then their season ends generally in November. And so they're right there, you have pretty much a month's worth of content, hyping people up. Even the month before, what are you looking forward to? Here's what we're going to do. What gear, get your gear ready, yada, yada, yada. And then at the end, what was your favorite part of the year? What are you looking forward to the most? Like, though, just keeping the schedule can help create your content in a way that just makes more sense and flows more naturally than in the middle of the season. Don't ask, what are you looking forward to next season? Because the people are focused on this season. That doesn't make any sense. And
yeah, and it's just a great idea to get those ideas down, and eventually it'll just be second nature to you. But if you're just starting out, I retain a lot more. I remember a lot more once I write stuff down and get it on paper or screen, whatever it may be. And it's just a way to always fall back, and it just helps me personally remember more. And I'm sure it'll help other people.
For sure. It's funny that when we were talking about the demographics, most of the games that I play do their own like censuses, and they do things like that. And you might be surprised, and viewers might be surprised too, how wide the demographics change even within LARP, right? Based on the game that you play. Yeah. So for instance, Amtgard, the main game that I play, that one is a foam fighting game, definitely more Dungeons and Dragons than historical reality. It's got magic, and it's got, healers and wizards and all of that stuff. Target audience is probably that 18 to 25-year-old is the majority of the people, tend to be a younger crowd, tends to be more male of a crowd, and tends to be a lower education, lower income crowd. Not saying any of that derogatory, just the reality of what it is. Yeah. Well, the other game that I play, one of the other games that I play is called the Society for Creative Anachronism. That one tends to be significantly older. Like the median age is probably 2 decades higher than what it is in Amtgard. That one tends to have higher education, higher income, and is a majority, like 65% female compared to AmpGuard, which is probably 70% male.
Wow.
And so and you wouldn't think that, right? But
and then there's you literally fall right in the middle of them.
But it's figure out the demographics of your game, because that better helps you create this strategy that Riley's talking about of how to best reach, the people that you think are going to be able to play your game. Because if you know you're targeting 18-year-olds, you need to be on TikTok, period. Mm-hmm. Right. But if you know you're going to be targeting 45-year-olds, you can be on pretty much any of them. And you know what I mean? That opens it up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And the type of content that you make changes based on the age group and different things like that. Yeah.
There's just so many benefits to really sitting down and thinking about it instead of just going blindly and, oh, we're at this event, I'm going to post a picture or post a couple of Instagram stories. Like, if that's your strategy, one, it's not the best, and you're not going to see that growth that you're looking for. If you're inconsistent, don't have a good strategy behind it, you're never going to see the growth that you're looking for. And you might be like, oh, well, I posted 2 Instagram stories this weekend, and okay, cool, but when was the last time you actually posted on your Instagram feed? It was 6 months ago. It's like, well, there's a reason that you're not growing. So
Talk a little bit, before we get into specific examples, talk a little bit about the importance of consistency in posting. How often should people be posting? What type of content? Like how often? We talked about what platforms, but then the next logical question that most people ask is, well, do I need to post daily, weekly, monthly? Does it matter? What do you think?
I would say at a bare minimum, a couple times a week. And that all depends. I say a couple times a week. So like a lot of my businesses I work with, I have enough content to post a couple times a week. But it's the off season. It's the middle of winter. You're not out doing events, things like that. I know content could be hard to come up with, but you would
be surprised though, man. Like, hey, check your swords after the season. Everyone make sure your swords are ready to fight for next season. Here's a video on how to check your swords and make sure they're good. Like there's still, even in the winter, there's still a lot you can do.
Yeah. And I think like most clients I work with, it's at least a couple times a week. Even like the smaller nonprofit that I work with, I'm only posting for them 3 times a week. So it's definitely not something, the super extreme influencers and industry leaders recommend 1 to 2 posts on Instagram every single day and 10 to 15 Instagram stories. And it's like if that's not your full-time thing, you just don't have time for that. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fail. You're not going to grow. It's just being consistent, showing up, even if it's just 2 or 3 times a week, creating a post or sharing some stories on Instagram or Facebook, or just one good TikTok video a week. If you're not posting except for once every 6 months, the social media platforms are pretty much just going to think you're a dead page. They're not going to, the algorithms really value consistency, because people are seeing your content more. The more the people interact with your content, the higher it's going to rank up, the more it's going to show up on their timelines. And that's pretty much across all the different platforms. And if you're dormant for 3 months, even a month, really, like the next time you post, I guarantee your engagement and your impressions are going to be way down the drain. So you want to be consistently in front of your audience. For my business, I post a couple times a week. It's not something that, not everybody's a full-time social media manager and has the ability or content ideas, but if you can get a couple times a week, once a week, for maybe longer forms of content or videos, stuff that takes a little more time to create, then by all means, that it's just what works best for you. But don't just let it go dormant for a couple weeks or a couple months, whatever it may be. And if it's something that it's easier for you to create a schedule and just set, okay, I'm going to post every Tuesday and Friday, or I'm going to release the TikTok video every Sunday afternoon, kind of like what you do with your YouTube videos. Like, that's totally fine, because
Yep.
your followers are going to get into the rhythm of, oh, if they really like the content you're posting and what you're sharing with them, they're going to be like, okay, this is really for like YouTube and podcast specifically, I guess, for this type of thing. But they know that your video, your podcast is going to drop at a specific time, and they're going to be looking for it each week. So even if you're not posting every day, create some type of consistent schedule, and you're going to see a lot more success.
So if we get it, our goal for our organization, we want to post twice a week. Mm-hmm. We know what platforms we want to be on. We're going to start with Facebook and Instagram because those are the ones we're most familiar with. We'll work into TikTok as we get there. We want to post 2 things a week. What type of things should we be posting about? What are successful things? We are a social group. It's a nonprofit, so we're not selling a product. So that might be a little different than what you're used to. But you said that you work with an MPO currently. So what type of things should, like, content ideas for groups? Yeah, I've got a few. If you don't, I know I'm putting you on the hot seat for this one.
Yeah.
But
so I think anytime you can be a solution to somebody's problem, you're going to see a lot of success across any of the platforms, no matter what business or organization you have. How can you take someone's problem and solve it, even if it's just a simple 15-second quick tip on, I can't even think of anything, but, just being a resource or providing some type of help to somebody's problem. If you've had a problem with it, chances are 15 other people in your community have had a problem with it.
That's how I get all of my YouTube video ideas. If I get asked something more than 5 times, I make it video.
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
Yeah. And the great thing with, especially with Instagram, is if you're just working on something, maybe it's not necessarily a pretty picture or a great, post to have in your timeline, use those stories features. Those stories are pushed directly in front of everybody who opens Instagram. It's the very first thing they see at the top of the page. And those are kind of meant to share more of the day in and day out type of things happening with your business, your organization, whatever it may be.
Explain the difference real quick between stories and a normal post for someone who maybe hasn't or isn't familiar with how Instagram works.
Yeah. So Instagram stories, well, I'll start with the easier one. Instagram posts are just a picture that shows up in your feed. You could take it today and post later, or you could have taken the picture 6 months ago and have it saved on your phone. You post it. There's options to add in hashtags and tag the location or tag other users. And Instagram really values high quality pictures, organic pictures, I would say. You can add filters and things like that, but it's more of, you don't want to be posting pictures with a bunch of graphic or text over it and graphics and things like that. They want to just see quality pictures. That's what people are there to see. And those are, well, without mixing in Instagram Reels, those timeline posts are more static pictures, and they're there forever. Well, until you delete them. You can hide them on the back end, but that's a whole nother thing. But those show up on your timeline. So people open the app, they scroll, 5 or 6 times. They might see your picture. They can like your picture. They can click through and go to your profile, and then they can see all of your pictures that you've posted over the entire account history. Versus Instagram stories, they're just short. You can 15, 30 seconds, whatever it may be, and they disappear within 24 hours. So it's more kind of just telling a story. That's what they named it after, is telling your story. And it's super helpful. Just, with my podcast, I take a picture of me getting everything set up, setting up the microphone, or I could take a picture right now and say on live now with Godric Ray and stuff like that, but it disappears in 24 hours. It's not necessarily high quality content, but it's giving people an inside behind the scenes look of what you're doing. You're getting set up for an event. coming up this weekend? How are you setting up the tents and doing all the behind the scenes work? That's what people want to see. They don't always just want to see the super glamorous post, and, you know, people start to consider Instagram, you know, the super fake and superficial with how much editing you can do and filtering. But the stories is kind of the raw, this is what we do, this is who we are. And so
stories is great for your, hey, I'm hopping in the car, I'm heading to the event.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here, we're setting up, here's our campsite. Right. And then, hey, here, we're set up now.
Yeah, and one great feature that they introduced with stories is, yes, they are meant to be you share it and it disappears within 24 hours. But if it's a good story or it's something that you're posting about, you know, every couple of weeks, but you want people to be able to go back and see it, there is Instagram story highlights that live on your Instagram profile. So like for mine, I have books, podcast, hashtags, something like that. And so like every time I start a new book, I always share, or when I'm just reading in general, I share an Instagram story about the book I'm reading, or if there's something that's relevant to social media that I think would be good for people to read or highlight, I share it as an Instagram story, just take a picture of it and post it on my story. And I highlight, you can click on it and highlight it so that it saves to your profile. So then when people go in, yes, it might have actually been an Instagram story from 6 months ago, but they can still go back and see it and kind of tell a story. And I think that'd be something super beneficial to your community, where you just create a highlight of Larp events 2021 or events 2021. And every time you go to an event or you're participating in an event, share out your story throughout the day. Like you said, getting in the car, going to the event, we're here. Here's me and a group of my closest buddies and all that, and highlight each one of those. And over time, if somebody goes to your LARPing community's page, they're going to see all of those behind the scenes. So it's a way to save it if they are something that's provides value, or, you know, like back to like the how-to or providing tips. If you're creating, for you example, creating a belt or something, and you're showing a quick tip on, or showing how to create something, whatever it may be, you create a highlight on your profile of like how-to or belt making or whatever it may be, and just people can go back and see specific groups and stories that way too. So yes, it kind of defeats the purpose of disappears in 24 hours, but if it's something that actually provides quality, then sometimes they are worth saving.
For sure. Some of the social media posts that I've seen groups be successful with that are pretty easy. If your park's looking for just what do we need to post, take a photo, or it's better if you can do it in video, because then you can take it to TikTok and bring it over to the other ones pretty easily. Go up to a player, one player a week. Hey, tell them, off screen, I'm going to ask you, what's your name, how long you've been playing, and what's your favorite class and your favorite weapon style. 20 seconds, you get people in garb. It is putting the face of your park out there. This is also really nice when people who are watching it can see, okay, those people are like me. It's not, because sometimes, especially with LARP, if you just go on Instagram and search LARP, you get these almost cosplay-esque, hyper, just the most post-produced picture that you can find. It's like, man, I can't play that. That person's got a $1,400 costume on. I can't go play that. Yeah. And so when you're just showing, hey, and then same thing with Instagram, just take a photo of the person and put their answers in your Instagram post.
Yeah.
And then when you get done with that, you've gone through all your players, you can go back and do the same thing, one player a week. What's your favorite game to play out here and why?
Yeah.
Go through, you do all that. Hey, what's your favorite aspect about LARP? You go and if you have 8 players at your park, even 5 players at your park, right? And you're doing one of those a week, you got a month's worth of content, and then you just start asking everybody again. Yeah. And that's super easy, and it gets you out on a consistent basis, and it looks cool. it looks good when you get, especially when you get new players. Like if you get it, they're like, hey, how long have you been playing? This is my 3rd week out. I'm having so much fun, and they're just that joy is infectious.
Yeah. And it's just all about building that community. And one thing that you kind of touched in a way, there's this common misconception that you can't repurpose and use the same content over. You mentioned not necessarily using the same content, but going back to the same people and asking a different question. If it's something that's valuable and I guess just valuable, whether it's for you, it's about an event coming up, or it's a great how-to tip, whatever it may be, you can repurpose and reuse the exact same content. Should you do it every single day? No. Should you do it every other week? Maybe. Depends on the content, depends on what it is. But if you think about it, do you remember what your favorite, or not even your favorite, but just a Facebook account posted last week, let alone 2 weeks ago? No.
Well, and especially if you're growing, right? If you have 50 followers this week and in 6 months you post again, you have 500, 450 of those people haven't even seen this content yet.
Yeah. And the chances are they didn't scroll all the way to the bottom of the timeline to see it. So, you definitely want to be repurposing and reposting that content, maybe share a different picture with it or a different thumbnail for whatever it may be. Don't just necessarily copy and paste or share the exact same stuff. You can, but it's just a common misconception. People are like, well, we just posted about that. Like I have clients like, we just posted that last week. How can we do it again? It's like, yes, you can. But that's just a quick side note for people who it's been brought up to me a couple of times. So I'm sure people who don't understand social media have that question. So.
Well, and that's one of the joys of if you start with something that you're familiar with, whatever that is for your group. If you're most familiar with Facebook, start on Facebook. If you're most familiar with Instagram, start on Instagram. If you're, under 20 and you're most familiar with TikTok, start on TikTok. Take what you are good at, what you're already familiar with, and then branch out into the other ones. A 15-second TikTok video transfers to all the other Facebook and Instagram pretty easily. Yeah. You get the little TikTok thing on the side, but no one cares. No one cares. You can get good content, consistent content that's going to help people. The more you're posting, the more it's going to drive people to your park or to your group, whatever it is. Yeah.
And I will say another side note of video is just huge right now in general. It's always kind of been, more popular, but people are more attracted to movement on screen. So even on Instagram or Facebook, people are more likely to stop and watch, even if they just scan for 2 seconds. That's more eyes on your post than somebody just relentlessly scrolling through, swiping with their thumb on Facebook picture after Facebook picture. So the more you can utilize videos in any platform of your social media, you're probably gonna have more success in the long run. And obviously TikTok is all videos. So, but yeah, in the world of content creation, video is king.
Your goal is to stop the scroll. Whenever someone is scrolling through, and there are ways that you can do that are going to catch people's attention. One is video. 2 is people's faces. They are much more likely to stop if they can see the eyes of someone compared to, like, for instance, if I can take a picture of my sword bag with 10 swords in it. Cool, right? That might get some people to stop and see what's going on. But if I take a player or a picture of a new player who's got both swords up and they're looking at the camera with a big smile on their face, that is much more likely to get a group of people to stop the scroll and say, hey, what is this? Than just the static inanimate object on the ground.
Yep. Yeah. It's like you said, it's all about getting people to stop. And, people have such short attention spans. If you can get somebody to stop and watch your 15-second video, you're
gold.
Yeah. You're golden because people are going to, if you get one person to stop and look, that means your content's engaging. You're going to get a lot more people. And then that kind of just funnels into the whole people like it. The more people like your content, the more people are watching your content, the more the algorithms are going to push it to the top of more people's pages or more people's timelines. So it's just, even if it's 15 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds for them to like your post, whatever it may be, getting them to stop is the goal.
For sure. So I want to transition a little bit, set a scenario up for you. Mm-hmm. There's a local group in small town USA. They've got, call it, they're in a medium-sized town, city, 10, 15, 20,000 people maybe. Mm-hmm. Small group, 5 to 10 local nerdy friends. They've been playing this game. They want to reach out. They want to maybe get on social media to attract people in their local community or within those who are within driving distance, say 30 minutes to an hour, who could commute. Because that's a pretty normal thing in our game, is you got to drive to where your games are. Yeah. What advice would you have for that group, small group trying to reach out into their smaller community? What are some of the best practices for them using social media?
So again, it's kind of going back to reaching out to where these people are most likely going to be. Obviously, we're talking specifically about, we've gone beyond the everyone's on social media and you need to be reaching out to people on social media to, is there a town Facebook group that pretty much everybody sees post on every single day? A chatter page. Yeah, that's what I was referencing. Everywhere I've lived since these things became popular, there's been a town chatter page for pretty much every city I've lived in. And then that's a huge one. That's a good way to get local eyes on people, or local eyes on your community, your group. Not, is it going to be for everybody? No, but that going into it. So that's one thing. You're hosting kind of just a 2-hour event at the park this coming up week. Posting that town chatter group, take pictures, share pictures of previous events, kind of get their attention. Oh, this is cool. It might reach that 1 or 2 extra people, and 1 or 2 extra people showing up to a small event of only 10 people is huge. So that's one option. And try and get in contact with other community groups. So say you're hosting an event at a local town park that's like maintained by the town or the city or whatever it may be. Reach out to them, send them a message on Facebook, whatever it may be, or just call them and be like, hey, we're having an event this Saturday. Can we either tag you, and you can obviously tag them in your post, but could you guys share the post to get more people to your parks? Reach out to these different organizations that might have a bigger following than you do, that can amplify your message. So reach out to the Parks and Rec department. I'm sure if it's a event, as long as it's nothing like super crazy or something against their values, but
then you're not going to be there anyway.
That's true. They'll kick you out pretty quick, I'm sure. But reach out to local Parks and Rec and create your own Facebook post from your group and be like, we're going to this park, tag, Forest Park. We're going out to Forest Park this weekend. Come out and join us. If you've already even if you haven't contacted them before, they still, if you tag them, they're going to see it. You might increase your chances of them sharing it. But going above and beyond that, giving them a call, sending them a direct message before, they're more likely to, oh yeah, that's a great idea. That'd be super cool. I think we have a small community that's interested in that type of stuff. Hey, we'd be glad to share it. That Facebook page, Instagram account, whatever it may be, may have thousands of followers, So the more you can do and tag different community partners, and that's kind of the same with like different community centers, YMCAs, schools, I don't know, necessarily churches but like try and get the community partners involved as much as you can, tagging them, tagging where you're at. One thing with social media, especially with Facebook and Instagram, is when you're, this is kind of day of, or even before, I guess, if you wanted to, there's options to tag locations in your post. It's definitely a lot bigger on Instagram, and using different strategies to, oh, okay, we're posting about this event coming up at Forest Park. We're going to tag the location of Forest Park. So when people are scrolling through their Instagram timeline, it's right underneath your username, and it shows, oh, this picture was taken at this place, or this is where the event's happening. And what that does is there's another way in the search on Instagram is people can see all the posts that are tagged in that one location. So you click on that location, you're going to see every single post. You could if you spent hours and hours in scrolling, but it increases your chances of people who are interested in that location or who are interested in that area of town, whatever it may be, of seeing your content. And that's kind of another thing, pairing it up with like certain hashtags that are relevant to your city or your community, or say there's a bigger LARPing community in just your county per se, but not necessarily for your specific town, but you're trying to get more people to come, throw in that hashtag. The people who are following it or see it or who are keeping track of that hashtag that might be 2 or 3 cities away might see and be like, oh, that'd be cool. I'd be up for driving to that. So it's just different quick tips like that, I'd say getting community partners involved as much as possible, however you can. So.
And I would add on to that a little bit too, community partners, but then also like nerd adjacent groups, like other groups. If you know, like for instance, any of the games that we play, there's going to be Amtgard, Dagger Bellegarde, SCA, like cross promote each other's events, and everyone benefits. Oh, yeah. And if you know the local, magic shop is having a Monday or a Friday night magic drop, throw that on your page. Then they might say, when you say, hey, we've done this 4 or 5 times, we've got an event coming up, would you mind sharing it? They're like, oh, cool. You drove 50 clicks to ours. Yeah, sure. We'll throw it up here. Yeah. And cross pollinate with as many of the nerd adjacent groups as you can. And that is going to help for instance, if you're on a college campus, my park is in a college campus, right? We have connections with the history department. We've got students who are history majors. And so whenever that is adjacent, and you're not going to get 90% of people, obviously, but if you get 0.5% of all the history majors to come look at your stuff, that's, thousands of people, and finding things in your community that are adjacent to what you do and being a resource for them and promoting them cannot hurt you. Yep. Like just put their name out there as much as you can. And in response, you'll get people that are interested in them who might be interested in you, but then they might also share your stuff too, which is just helpful for everybody.
Yeah. And that's a pretty common tactic across all organizations, businesses on social media. I mean, one example is literally right now. I had you on, and in reciprocation, I joined yours. And obviously it's a bit different with like you do videos and podcasts, but the concept is the same. I was more than happy to jump on after you spent your evening last week with me. So it as a social media manager, if somebody's sharing my post and I get that notification that, hey, this other community organization shared my post, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go click on their page right now just because, I want to see what they're following us. And and oh, wow, they actually have a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to go like their stuff. And then their posts are going to show up in your timeline. And then the more cool stuff you see from them, you're going to start sharing it too. And that's kind of just how social media works. So the more you can engage with, and it doesn't even have to be different community partners or organizations. It can just be individuals too. It can be on an individual level too. Like, I don't know necessarily if all the LARPing communities have business pages or anything like that. If it's
quite a few do.
Okay. But even if it's just on the individual page and you're trying to start literally from scratch and you just have your own small, it's just you, but you have a public profile and you're trying to start a community, trying to find more friends or people in your community, find others, start liking their stuff, sharing their stuff, leaving a comment on their page. That's the thing. You don't even have to share their stuff necessarily, but the local card shop is having like you said, a magic event or a magic drop, and just be like, that's so cool. Can't wait to show up, or anything like that. Everybody else who is on their page and seeing their post, oh, wow, what is this LARPing community commenting on? I've heard about LARPing. Let me click on it and see. And it's just like, from there, the possibilities are kind of endless. It's just the more engaged that you are in trying to communicate with other people, the more success you're going to have. So.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to pull up something real quick here. So I want to take a moment and go through and take a look at a couple of different websites and social medias platforms from some of the different games that I play, and get your take on what is good, what is bad. Not going to spend too much time on each one, just going to kind of go through these. But as we look at each of these things, I want to know what stands out, what do you like? And then if you were going to change something, let's do like a good and a bad for each one. Okay. And tell me, and if you want to see something in particular, I can click around to other stuff.
All right. So this first one, let me see here. Go back to the homepage here.
So this is AmpGuard. This is the national page for the main game that I play.
Okay. I won't get into like overall website design, because that could be a whole different conversation in itself. But what I like, the header, sorry, not the header, but yeah, the image reels that you're seeing, it's people engaged, like you already talked about. It's showing the real people. It's people, they're not necessarily looking at the camera, but it's, hey, this is what it is. These are the people that do it. Looks like the common person could just throw on a robe. Doesn't have to be super expensive. So I like that first. It really catches your attention right off the bat. Good.
This is important too. Yeah, find it near you. That's good that is right.
Yep, I agree. That's
too bad the
huge.
link is kind of ugly.
Yeah, I won't get over the overall look. I do not like, but the overall content. I think what people are going there to find, they have it right out front about AmpGuard. That's if I'm looking to get into it, and yes, you see the pictures up there, but if you click on that about AmpGuard tab right there, or the one on the down below, yeah, that one. And it goes into it. Yeah. I mean, that's front and center. That's as easy as it can be to find. And it's on that first page. You don't have to scroll a whole lot. And along with that, the social media links were there. I'm assuming they probably
down here.
Yeah. On the homepage too, though.
This is actually one of the ones I had pulled up already. So you can do this.
Yeah.
So let's see, 818 posts, 1,300 followers. Does it give you dates on when this stuff was posted? October 11th was the last one.
So there's that consistency that we talked about.
Yeah. It seems to be they're using this mainly for announcements.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me for Instagram.
So right off the bat, the first 3 or 4 posts, there's just so much text on the graphics. Like, people aren't going to stop and read that. One, it's hard to see. And 2, people aren't coming to Instagram to read. Instagram would be, they're missing a huge opportunity to show the people of AmpGuard and what you do.
This is what you want more of.
That's what you want more of every single post. That's what their Instagram page should just be filled of people at events and doing things like that stuff.
Yep.
That's even more staged than you have to be. Obviously, that's kind of, they have a photo shoot type.
Well, they're doing good too. They're tagging the community and using hashtags like that. That's how you get engagement. Because anytime you tag somebody, they're like, "Oh, what's this?"
And look at the very first comment is that guy who got tagged and said, "Thanks for the share."
I bet he followed your page.
And I bet he shared that post in his Instagram story, because he can share posts in Instagram stories. So it's
kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks like they were on a roll for a long time of sharing quality pictures, and I won't say it was consistent, but if you're just scrolling through their timeline and not looking at the dates,
we're down to 2019 now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then with staying on here too, just looking at the top, one thing you always want to do is make sure your profile is filled out correctly. Free to play, foam combat, and medieval fantasy LARP. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But yes, we love seeing crafters too. They have their link. That's good. Always kind of, I guess they have the call to action, add amp guard to your park and event photos. Having that call to action in your bio, have that link wherever you want people to go to traffic. One cool thing is you're not allowed to post links in Instagram captions. So you're really limited on directing people where you want to go. One way around that is obviously like point out, click the link in the bio, but still you're limited to just one link.
Or a link tree.
So Linktree is an option. There's tons of different options to creating. So like if you pull up my Instagram account real quick, just Harden _digital. Yep. You will see Linktree, that Harden Digital. You just click on it and it's a whole list of.
This right here is super useful, and I've seen more and more parks, different groups doing this, because in what you have one link, and in here you put your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikToks, create a Google Calendar, whatever it is, you put all of your stuff in one place. If your park doesn't want to run like a traditional website, do this and then just link it to all the stuff that you do and have this be your landing page.
Yeah, and your Linktree link or whatever service, there's multiple different services. Doesn't just have to be the link that lives in your Instagram account. You can share it out on pretty much anywhere, and it's all right there. And I have my Twitter and Facebook account down there, links to my blog. So like that's one way to get more people to where you want to go, with the limitations of you can't add links to your bio and things like that. So, or you can't add links to your Instagram post. But overall, I think their Instagram page is set up fairly well. One thing I would change is the logo on their, or not the logo, but their profile picture. If they have a logo, keep it. You can't click on Instagram profile pictures, so it's like I'm squinting to see what is it. Maybe throwing in a stronger profile picture there might help a little bit. But overall, they use the right tools. They're using hashtags. They're tagging people. Cut back on.
Oh, never mind. That's not a good sign. All right, fix that.
It's always
And then here, their Facebook goes to the Facebook page that they have. They don't have a group anymore. So this is the page, which looks to be more of the same type of announcement type of post, which is okay for a page, I feel. Yeah,
for Facebook, that's perfect. Like that content is much better off on Facebook than it is on Instagram. So I think that what they're doing there, minus the consistency factor,
makes more sense.
Makes more sense on Facebook, yeah.
So let's go to, I wonder, if it's just daggerhere.com. So this is another one of the games that I play. And we'll see. They just redid their website within the last, I want to say, year or two. Like this is all brand new.
Dang, yeah. So, visually appealing, that's for sure.
And I guess all of these are linked. Oh, no. It just pulls it up bigger.
Pops up, yeah.
I like, he looks good.
Yeah.
I like the photos that they chose to use better than the other site. Like this makes me go, oh, what's this?
Oh, yeah. I would have to agree. And there's more of it. I don't necessarily like them all put in right next to each other because
I gotcha.
But no, it still looks fine. That's just me being picky.
I like his shield.
Yeah.
So then we've got find a chapter. What is in the rule book? All right there.
I would almost say maybe add that little. I like that design and that layout. Maybe add it up higher up on the page. A lot of
right here.
Yeah. A lot of what kind of the common thing is if you want the most important stuff on that first scroll of the page. So look, we're already 2 or 3 scrolls down and we're not even to.
So here's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. I would say you'd want that a little higher potentially. The pictures are great, but you also have the pictures going through the header at the top. So,
events.
But the people, and I'm not saying it's necessarily the worst thing ever.
No.
The people who are coming there specifically looking for it are probably going to scroll down. But if you just catch the one-off user like, oh, this looks interesting, but then they are already 3 or 4 scrolls down and they can't find out more, then.
Yeah. I gotcha. It doesn't appear that they have the rest of their socials linked. Let's see. There is a Dagger Here account. Okay, so what I'm seeing here, it looks like okay, is this it? Is this nope, that's not the national page.
Pictures of socks.
So it appears that they have a hashtag, but there isn't a national page specifically for this game. Each of these are local groups.
Okay, yeah.
So this is Albion Dagger Here. If I recall, these guys are in Atlanta, I think, or down in that area. Let's see, what are we looking at? 2019, so not active.
But I will say the content on the page looks great. Those are real. You can tell that they have some good photographers. Like that's not just
know how to color grade.
Yeah. So I think the content there, that's the type of content that you want to see on a Instagram page specifically for this.
Let's look at this one real quick too. So a little bit smaller of a group. 2017. I'm trying to find an active. I guess we could do this. Just go to the hashtag and see what it.
Yeah, this okay. So we talked about the hashtags and locations. This is exactly what we're talking about. If you search just this hashtag, you see all these posts and.
What a beard!
Yeah. Wow, you just increase your chances of more people seeing your content. I think scroll up. Yeah, these are the top posts at the time, or on this page. But I don't know about. In the app on your phone, you can switch between the top post and most recent. So the top posts are always going to be the more popular ones and everything. But there are people that search the most recent, and you might be noticed.
It's me.
Nice.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me.
Making it on the top page.
This is a good one.
1 week ago.
That's sick. Like that. Yeah. That is a good, clean photo. It is an action shot that makes me want to go see what this game is.
She's a photographer, so I expect compliments. But if she was sending those photos to her local group that she's involved with, and they're posting those on their Instagram, like that's huge. That's perfect content.
Okay, so next, this is another game that I play. This is Belagarth. Another foam fighting game.
Yep. Lots of text right there.
I like that it's succinct though. Like, yeah, it's a lot of text, but I don't got to scroll down a whole lot to find what I want.
Yeah, I like that stuff at those little buttons at the top. And movement on screen attracts people's eyes, so that little twirly thing looks great. The pictures, they tried. They understand the concept of getting the pictures on, but
cut off though.
You just need to format it a little better.
I do like the social links. It looks like there isn't an Instagram. Oh, they have YouTube. Huh. I guess I'm subscribed. I knew that.
Hopefully they're not watching.
Yeah, only 4. I was interested to see if they had a... Okay, what do we got for Twitter? Twitter's the one I admittedly am the least familiar with.
And honestly, I'm surprised that they're more on Twitter than Instagram, just because of all the different options the Instagram allows for the tagging and the hashtags and locations and all that type of stuff.
So this is another local group. They don't have a national Instagram. It doesn't look like either. I like memes with the local players. That's smart. I like that. A lot of text, but I like it.
Scroll up to the top though. So those highlights, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. You can add different stories to it. These are all their stories. Looks like they just shared a bunch of their posts into their stories. Oh, that's not a post, but
I would say probably vice versa. It looks like they were making the shorts first, and then it's like, oh yeah, let's post that.
Yeah, and look at all those different options you can add in. All those movements, those are stickers, and you can add in music, and there's just a bunch of different stuff you can do into stories, and they did great. Look, you can tag the location in your stories too, and so
it's a good use of. They're the first one that we've seen that is using stories, or at least the highlights.
They've saved the highlights, yeah. And they have this super nitpicky, but they're doing great. You can renamed some of their highlights, and 2 of them they just left called highlights.
I gotcha.
Name those something specific to that group of stories.
I like this right here. Also,
Yep.
Some of the other
that call to action specifically.
Well, and they have their location. Some of the other groups, it's like, we are an AmpGuard group, and that doesn't tell me anything about where you are or what I'm trying to find.
If you're trying to grow in your small community, if you don't say where your community is, then
yep. It's a good. I don't like that both of these groups are fairly large, and the fact that they don't have a national Instagram is. Yeah, this is the guy who owns the Bellegarth tag. That surprises me.
If you guys are watching and you need a social media manager. Yeah, I'm shocked that they don't have Instagram accounts too, though.
So this is the largest of all the games that I have shown you so far. Probably 6 times bigger. Maybe even 8 times bigger than any of the other games that we've looked at. And
I will say from that very first top page, it looks a lot more professional, just right off the bat. Whether that's meant to be more professional looking or just they have more resources to build a more professional website, I can notice that right off the...
They have this... Is this what I'm looking for? No. They have a specific newbie page that is fantastic. Yeah, right here. Okay, actually, it's... So very first thing, top right, new to the SCA. I love this page. Oh, this isn't the one I was thinking of. Is it this? Never mind. It's not as good. There was one that was just a beautiful newbie-centric... I have no idea what I'm doing. Explain the game to me type of page. But it looks like I am mistaken on where it is. So good website. Let's go look at they do have an Instagram. Cool.
Ooh, well, they passed the test. Well, they have a link tree.
I got the link tree.
Right. 777 posts. They should pretty much just not post because 777 is an awesome number. And another pro tip, very first picture is dogs. The more you can integrate dogs into your social media plan, the better. Dogs and babies, however you can.
Yep. Content appears to be mostly shared from other people, which is fine, right? Yeah. As long as you are crediting where it's coming from, feel free. If you have people in your community that are really good at this type of stuff and you don't feel that you are, share their stuff on your page.
Yep. And that's just kind of what we talked about, just the reciprocation there.
It's a good photo.
Yeah. Now, if you never create your own content, then they obviously can't share your content out, but mixing in the shared posts from other people, it's a great strategy. Let's click on one of their posts with like that one, the International Day of. Let's see. Do they put a link in their Instagram caption? Oh, nope. Link tree in our bio. Oh. I got excited and then we scrolled another inch down. Well, so people following along, watching there, you can see one way to do it is say link tree in bio. You don't have to say link tree, just say click the link in our bio. Yeah. And if you scroll down, that's how links appear in Instagram.
I can't do anything with it. You
can't do anything.
Especially on mobile.
Yeah. I mean, we're on a computer, so you're more easily to just able to copy and paste, but 99% of people are on Instagram on their phone. You can't just copy one small link. You literally have to copy the entire caption. And yeah, so.
That was 4 days ago, though. So we're looking at.
They're very consistent.
Yeah, they're posting pretty regularly.
Another dog. What is that? In the top right.
Cat.
It's cat. You couldn't see its eyes, and it's just like.
Close enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Let's look at their link tree. Pinterest, same thing that was at the bottom of their website, essentially.
Yeah, which isn't terrible. I mean, when you're creating more specific call to actions, and you're specifically on Instagram, when you're creating more specific call to actions, don't just say click the link in our bio and then it just has these generic things. If you're talking about a specific topic, create a whole new link that says, so like say you're promoting an event coming up that people have to sign up or get tickets for, instead of saying get your link or get your tickets at the link in our bio and then it just comes to this, it's like, well, where am I supposed to go to get my tickets? Put at the very top link and say event tickets or whatever it may be, and you can put whatever link you want into the link tree and call it whatever you want. But if it's,
and when they click on it, it will take them here to your Facebook event page or if you're selling tickets, right?
Yeah. And if they can't find it after that first click and they're just confused, then you probably lost the customer or even attendee, whatever it may be. But I mean, theirs is by far probably the most in-depth account and best put together account. Don't have any story highlights, but that's not the end of the world. It's, you know, if they don't have time, it seems like they might not be out doing this type of stuff all the time. They're more of the group organizing it behind the scenes. So they might not be out at events. Whoever's managing their social media.
They have a team, if I recall. Like they have multiple people that do their social media. Like I said, this is by and large the largest of the games that I play.
Yeah.
It's cool. So let me bring it back over here to us. That was neat. I was a little worried how the technology was going to play out there, but so takeaways for your local group. Have links, easily definable links in Linktree or another similar service.
Yep.
Post regularly using both stories and on your main page or on your whatever you want to call it.
Your feed.
Your feed. And then use highlights and other combat highlights, arts and science highlights, announcement highlights for your stories.
Yeah. And if you think about it, for those highlights, the different sections of whatever game you're playing, like you just mentioned, those are perfect. You know, that just showcases not necessarily your services, but think of them as kind of like your services section or your about section for like, it's your own mini website in an essence. So, yeah.
For sure. So as we close up here, Riley, is there any final tips or words of wisdom that you maybe thought of while we were chatting, or any other just like last parting things that you think, hey, this nerdy LARPer who's trying to develop their park and grow it out, what is the final piece of advice that you would give to them?
My best advice is just go for it and start creating today, tomorrow, whatever it may be. If you're sitting here like, man, I don't know what to do, I don't know the best way to do it, or I'm just not that creative, everybody starts from scratch. You know, these accounts that we just looked at, that last account, it looks well defined. It's it's in good shape right now. I guarantee when they started, though, the first time they were ever posting, it probably wasn't that good. I guarantee it wasn't that good, but you have to start somewhere if you want to grow. If you're just sitting here making excuses, and yes, it's hard. I understand that. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at with my content creation. But you just have to do it, or you're limiting your ability to grow your community. So if you're sitting here questioning how to do it, or what's the best strategy, just dive into it and go. Refine your strategy as time goes on, refine your content creation, make things better. Kind of just have to dive in, or else you're never going to get started.
You got to make the jump. Mm-hmm. If you cannot compare yourself to someone, you can't compare, who is it? One of the YouTube channels that I follow who talks about growth and creating content. I'm pretty sure it's Think Media. He always says you cannot compare your beginnings to someone else's 10 years in, or 5 years in, or whatever else they are, how far they've been in their journey. Yep. So like, I'm not a huge creator by any means, but if you can look at any of my recent videos, right, my thumbnails look good. But then if you scroll all the way down here to like my very first,
yeah.
This is garbage, right? This is no mic in an echoey room, just screen sharing my screen with no camera, just me monologuing for 10 minutes, right? Like, I made better thumbnails for these later. But, the best way for you to make content is to start making content. And every time you make something, strive for it to be 1% better.
Yep.
And just over time, your stuff will get there.
I follow that advice myself. I took a new adventure and started my podcast, and admittedly, I probably still terrible. I'm only 4 or 5 episodes into it, but it's just, I feel more confident every single time I record an episode, every time I edit an episode and publish, and how I go about marketing my podcast and what I'm saying on social media to get more people to download it and subscribe. Every single time I do it, I feel more confident about it. I feel better. I hope the quality is getting better. So like, you will get better at it. Just stick with it. Don't give up after a week or something, or 2 weeks. Stay consistent. You'll get better.
What I would recommend, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, you're a park officer, you're about to take the reins for the 6 months of your reign, make a commitment. I want, like we were talking about earlier with your strategy, I am going to make the commitment to post 1 post a week every single month during my 6-month reign. Yep. And make that commitment. It doesn't matter if your first 3 posts get 4 likes.
Yeah.
Just stick with it through the entire 6 months and track. Write down where you were at the beginning of your 6 months and where you were at the end. What went well and what didn't. And then here's the key part for our game, because our leadership rotates out every 6 months. Put that into a Google Docs, to a Google Sheet, and pass that on with your passwords to the next person in charge. For your whatever, like some parks even have social media officers that are voted on. Sometimes that just falls to the champion or the monarch. Make notes for the next person. And like, I do this with my mundane job. At the end of the year, I take all my posts, my top 100 posts that I made, and I will rank them from 1 to 100 with what like watch time and clicks, and if we got any like people that came around and came to church for us. And then I will give a little description as I'm making them. What was that content? What type of content was it? And then if you really want to go in depth, how long did it take? Because then you can get into some comparison. Hey man, this video that took me 30 seconds to make is the one that got 500 likes, compared to the thing I polished for an hour got 4 likes.
Which is the worst feeling ever.
It is. It really, really is.
And it always works out that way. But honestly, that just goes to show, you may think that this piece of content you're creating is absolute garbage and it didn't take too long, whatever, but maybe it blows up. Like it really, if you don't create it or you think it's bad and don't publish it, you'll never know. So it just ties back in. So,
yep. And then just take that information that you've learned, pass it on to the next person, and let in your park can create a culture of consistently making content that will consistently drive people to your pages, and you'll start to see some of the returns there. We have a gentleman at our park who has created a site called Come Try Larp, and it funnels. It's a nationwide site. You put in your zip code, it shows you what parks are near you. And it was really neat because he had made this tool and spent a lot of time and effort in it. And we were hearing stories all around the country of this tool driving people to their park. We now, in the last 3 months, have had 4 people come to our local park who found us from his tool that he created. Awesome. It will take time on social media, but if you do it well and you do it consistently, you will get the results that you're looking for. Just might take a little bit to get there.
Yeah. So yeah, don't be discouraged because you're not growing your social media accounts. You don't have tens of thousands of followers, especially organic reach on social media is kind of going down the drain. It's still there, obviously. And your organic reach are those true followers who really like your content, those really like your organization, your group, whatever it may be. But don't be discouraged because, oh, well, this person's account got 10,000 or has 10,000 Facebook likes or whatever it may be. It's a process. If you're not wanting to put money into ads, which I don't necessarily recommend, it's a process, and it's just all about creating. If you can, the more helpful you can be, the more you're going to grow. And so just keep that in mind. You're not going to see success overnight unless your TikTok video blows up and gets millions of views. Then
and then we got to talk about it. Is that even success? Like, it's not success if you can't repeat it.
Yeah, going viral is not a good long-term social media strategy. It'll help in the short run, but the thousands of followers you might gain off of one viral TikTok video, they're probably not going to see all of your other posts. They might unfollow you after they see a couple more posts and like, oh, wow, I don't actually like this person. I just thought that video was funny. So yes, it is a benefit. It can help if it's a good piece of content, but it's not. Don't strive to go viral on every single post because you're going to be sadly disappointed.
Yeah. Well, sir, I really appreciate you letting me pick your brain about social media and how our viewers can use it to grow LARP. If anybody who's watching this is interested in chatting with you more about social media or online platforms, or maybe the person we were dissing on their website, they're gonna find this and how do we get better? Where can people find you?
So social media, the probably biggest ones are Twitter and Facebook, and that's just twitter.com/Harden Digital or facebook.com/Harden Digital. If you want to check out more about what I do to help businesses grow, visit my website, hardendigital.com, and be sure to check out the podcast I just launched. Episode 4 is with Nate. So it's a good episode. An hour long. Yeah, I think it's like exactly 160 minutes. So it's another good piece of content talking about social media specifically to your community. So be sure to download that episode, subscribe. I'll be talking more about social media too in terms of features, new updates, and different things like that. So if you're looking to have a resource if you are one of those officers who are taking over social media for your park or whatever it may be and want some help there, would be a good place if you're into podcasts. So that's the digital wrap up, and you can find that on the Harden Digital website too. So
anywhere that you can find podcast, digital wrap up will be on there. It's a great resource. I've got it on my iTunes is one of my pop-ups that I listen to every time you post them. So good content out there. If anyone is interested, Riley Harden over at Harden Digital. It was really good to have you on, man. It was good to pick your brain and get some of the info out there to people who maybe just aren't as used to social media as someone as yourself who does it for a career.
Yeah, and I could talk about it forever and ever. So if anybody, please don't hesitate to reach out, and hopefully, I know we made an agreement on my podcast that we'd be back on at least next year, at the end of next year, if not sooner. So looking forward to chatting again sometime in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. Well, audience, if you made it all the way to the end of our show, we appreciate you. You're one of the chosen few. Just kidding. Thank you for making it all the way here. If you would hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, it really does help the channel out. And then when we're done with this, go check Riley out over on Harden Digital on his platforms. This has been our most recent episode of The Archive, where we strive to tell interesting LARP stories and preserve LARP history. I'm St. Godric. That is Riley Harden. We'll see you next time.